All right, today we're going to be looking at some market failures. You have this particular table, or you will be getting it soon, depending upon when you watch this video. Generally, when we talk about economics, we talk about the attributes, the values of the free market, but there are times it fails. And so at times, those failures may be just something we live with, but at other times we might say, hey, should government intervene? And if they do intervene, what could or what should they do? So some things where or you'll see the word imperfection. There might be an imperfection in the market. One type of imperfection or failure is something called public goods, because public goods are not provided by the market. Public goods are the types of goods where you can't exclude people from using them, but nobody on their own would provide them. A couple of good examples, they talk about national defense. You can't stop people from literally consuming national defense. The U.S. has a military. They're not able to say we're protecting the rest of the country except for you. Streetlights. Streetlights are a good example of a public good. No one's really going to provide that on their own. We're not going to charge people for using a streetlight, and we can't really stop people from using that. And so really, the only example of an intervention possible is the government provides it. That's why there's a national defense. That's why government does streetlights. And that's why they do things like create Interstate 5. Now, they do sometimes charge people for that, but oftentimes they don't, because it's a benefit to everyone, and they don't want to have every entry into, say, Interstate 5 be something that is charged for. Other types of goods that you'll see, I wish this table was in a little different order, but merit goods are goods that we really like in society, right, but that we can't capture the full benefit for. So they're things that provide society extra benefit beyond what you individually get. Education's a good example of that. You love education for you, you know it provides you a benefit, but it also provides everybody else a benefit. The free market by itself under-provides merit goods, because the free market will only be able to charge you for what you value the good for. You're not going to say go to college and pay for college, okay? Benefit to you, but that you wouldn't accept an idea that the college says, well, we're charging you for the benefit for you and the benefit to society. Right? And so merit goods are under-provided. Right? So one example, or some things the government could do, is provide that, like K through 12 education in the United States. They could subsidize it. They could make it easier for people to go to college. Other types of merit goods, controversially, healthcare. Right? By itself, healthcare is good for an individual, but you can make the case economically that when workers are healthy, that's best for society. But not everyone will have access to healthcare if it's just the free market. And that's one reason it's so controversial. The flip side of that would be demerit goods, things that are bad not just for you, right, but you get to decide sort of for you what you like, but also bad for society. Right, cigarettes. Cigarettes might be something that's bad for me, but I make the decision on whether I want to purchase it or not. Right, but I don't make the decision on whether I want to purchase it or not based on what's happening to other people. Right, that would be an example of a demerit good, and they are over-provided by the free market. What could the government do? The government could tax it, make it harder to get. They could legislate it. They could literally say, you can't purchase this in a given society. Those relate, I'm going to skip down to this, to the phrases negative externalities and positive externalities. We say that demerit goods have negative externalities, things that are negative beyond the transaction. I purchase a cigarette, I know things are negative, but there's externalities that happen beyond the purchase price. Okay? Think of a factory. Factory doesn't pay necessarily any price for polluting into a river. The only time they pay a price is when the government intervenes, but if they pollute into a river, that's bad for everybody else. Positive externalities, okay, those are merit good items. Positive externalities are things that provide positive benefits outside of the transaction. Again, education is the classic example. We're going to talk about a couple more briefly, and then we'll come back to market inefficiencies and market imperfections and market failures with diagrams for our next installment. There are times the market is unstable. What can a government do? A government could do things like buffer stocks. Buffer stocks are where they set a general target price, usually in agriculture. They say if it falls below that price, they'll purchase them up. If it gets too high, they'll start selling, with the idea that it keeps things stable for, in this case, the agricultural market. And lastly, there are in many free markets unequal distribution of income. There's people that have a whole lot and people that don't have very much at all. Some people don't think this is much of a failure, but others do. What could a government do? A government can redistribute some of that income through taxes and subsidies. I appreciate you listening to the first part of our market failure section on on video. And always remember, keep your expectations low, but your opportunity costs high.